Hello and welcome back to my mini manga mentions, where I'll be giving a mini review and recommendation of different manga that I love. This week's mini manga mention is Let's Manage the Tower, or To no Kanri Oshite Mio, by Soshu. There are currently 15 Japanese manga volumes, and as usual this will be a spoiler-free review. Sadly, either due to a lack of information easily available online, or my inability to find said information, I cannot gather as much as usual about this manga's background, so my apologies. Now let me start by saying this is really an 18+ manga, heavily. So don't read it in public places or with anybody around, truly. Just be careful. Now the premise, a man named Kosuke is hit by the isekai truck and his soul is lost in a garden in another world. The head goddess of that world lets him choose whether he'll be reborn or summoned to that world. Obviously he chooses summoned. And once summoned to that new world with 2 aides, he will go on to conquer and manage the world's dungeon towers and change the world completely. Contrary to the title, this manga is actually a blend of slice and life and action, rather than just being a management simulator. It switches between the 2 genres that neither get stale or overused, and both also blend into the setting and perceived story of this manga, creating a seamless transition between them. On their own, however, I would say that slice of life and management portions are a lot more fulfilling and enjoyable to read. That's probably my bias, because you know how much I love slice of life, though. The action segments are a nice break from this, though, and aren't bad in their own right. The management sections also benefit from the unique setting of the manga that is a dungeon tower, which is honestly a bit much to explain, and there's a lot that goes into it. Luckily it's easy to understand, and it's probably just better experience in the story rather than having me explain it to you. Sadly, like usual, the detriment to this manga comes from the story and the characters. While characters themselves aren't bad whatsoever, there are a lot of them, and I expect you to remember some of the minor characters that truly don't matter much. Aside from that, I do find it refreshing, however, that the gods in this manga are very good characters contrary to many other stories where there's horrible people who ruin the world. For the story, there really isn't one, and I can't tell if that's a benefit or detriment to the manga. There are some political and or religious storylines that work nicely, but they wrap up rather quickly, so there really isn't an overarching storyline. And like I said earlier, I don't really know if that's a good thing or not. I think it works well. It allows them to do what they want, and when they want, which allows them to subvert expectations. So, like I said earlier, don't know if that's good or bad, because it lacks some direction, but it works, for the most part. I truly like this manga. The base is unique and the mechanics of the world are very interesting and love to expand on themselves. Like I said, there's too much for me to explain here, but it's better off being read. This is not to mention that there's a lot of comedy, both 18+ or not. And like I said, don't read it in public. I highly recommend it, especially if you like isekai, interesting world mechanics, and or women. Because women, good. Well, that was all for today's MMM. I hope you enjoyed, and thank you for watching.